Hey, fellow Americans or non-Americans. It's election day here in the States, so I'm starting off with Abe Lincoln as the subject of my magic mirror. Hello. I'm going to do a quick tutorial, or maybe it's not that quick tutorial, on how to get StreamDiffusion running in TouchDesigner. So you can basically take whatever you have running in TouchDesigner, pass it to the StreamDiffusion talks developed by .simulate. I'm going to talk for a while about installation, and then I'll swing back to some other relevant topics that are interesting and fun. Okay, see you at the installation. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to go over is getting StreamDiffusion installed, and this is kind of boring, but I would encourage you to stay with me just because I'm going to go over a couple things that I didn't know about and that are helpful in general as far as getting under the hood of Windows and whatnot. So anyway, head over to .simulate's Patreon. Just Google .simulate Patreon. You'll find this. You have to do a $5 a month, at least for a month, to download his talks file, which enables TouchDesigner to run alongside StreamDiffusion. Best $5 a month you'll spend. This is if you're into this stuff and you want to integrate StreamDiffusion or Comfy or any of the other AI platforms into TouchDesigner. This is a great Discord to be a member of. So join the Discord, put your PayPal in there or whatever, and then you get access to his Discord server. There's lots of information in here, cool things that people are updating, tutorial videos, other really talented people talking about things. There are noobs in here who are struggling and get help, sometimes from .simulate himself, sometimes from other people. And this is the way I have navigated all of this, so I highly recommend it. You're going to go to the download talks area over in the various server areas and download StreamDiffusion. And here it is. The latest one is the 2.3.talks, StreamDiffusion 2.3 talks file. You download that. And then you're going to run TouchDesigner. Let's see. Mine is in my ever-growing collection of talks files. Here it is, StreamDiffusion 2.3.talks. When you download it, put it in your talks folder and then drop it in here. There it is. In a TouchDesigner network, you're still a long way from having this installed. This is just all the pointers and whatnot to the various software pieces that need to be running properly. But .simulate has built an internal installer so you can run it from inside of TouchDesigner, which is pretty amazing. But there's a couple things that we are going to want to look at together before you do that. Installation guide. It's under the install tab of the parameters of the talks. Pulse that open, and you are going to want to follow these instructions very carefully. Windows 10 or 11, that's kind of obvious. NVIDIA graphics card with CUDA support. Python 3.10.9. This is what tripped me up, and I spent a long time figuring this out. You need, at least I needed Python 3.10.9, not a different version of Python, and the CUDA Toolkit 11.8. When I first installed this, I was like, yeah, all that stuff, I got that running. And I did. I had installed it for other reasons. Figure out what version of Python you're running. I can't in good conscience recommend that you just start deleting your Python and your CUDA installation if you have other bits of software that are depending on those versions for certain things. I'm just going to tell you what I did to get StreamDiffusion running. And it took some time. I'm just going to cover it real quick, okay? So Python 3.10.9, chances are this is not the version that you have of Python running. And you can go into your apps Apps, add or remove programs. You can just search in here for Python to figure it out. There's Python 3.10. I had like 10 versions of Python in here when I first did this, okay? In order to see what version of Python your machine is actually running, you kind of have to go into your command prompt, and this is something that ChatGPT helped me with, and it's the kind of thing that ChatGPT is great with helping you with in general. So I use it for stuff like this all the time. How do I know what version of Python I have? Okay, I don't know. I didn't know how to do this. Okay, open terminal, Python -- version. Go over to here, Python. Now, even if you have Python 3.10.9 installed, it may be installed alongside a lot of other versions of Python, and it is not the version of Python that your machine is actively running or calling upon when you try to do things like run TouchDesigner. And what I eventually found was after I installed Python 3.10.9, I would go in here and ask it what version it saw, and it would give me some other number. What you need to do is go into your environment variables. I know this is boring. I know this sucks. But believe me, this is something worth knowing about. Your environment variables are sort of like little paths that tell the operating system where it should go to find certain things. And if you have paths to wrong versions of things that you don't want it to run, or you don't have the right version of the paths that you want it to run, you're going to run into problems. So the way I got here was I just went down into my little search window. I typed environment and edit the system environment variables, okay? And you go to environment variables and you look at the paths that you have here, and I don't want to go too far into this, but if you're not seeing what you want to see in the command prompt, this is where your problem is. Get rid of the wrong paths. You can create a new path and go and find the very file that you're looking for. In my case, it is in C user Scott app data, local programs, Python 3.10, okay? And similarly for CUDA, which I think is under system variables, you're gonna be looking for it down here, and these have to be correct. Okay, so you similarly in the command prompt, you can ask ChatGPT to help you with this, but I think it's nvcc -- version. You need to have CUDA version 11.8. I think 12.1 has also been tested by .simulate, but this guy is just one guy, and he's super talented with this stuff, but he doesn't have the resources to test it on everything that's happening on your machine or my machine. So this is the system that he set it up for and that he has tested, and it's working properly. So going back over to TouchDesigner, this prerequisite is important to get right, and this CUDA toolkit 11.8 is also important to get right. What you will want to do if you have different versions of Python and CUDA is go into your apps, remove all the old versions of CUDA and Python, and install these fresh, and install Git. And it says right here, add Python, CUDA, and Git to your system's path during installation. There's going to be a little check mark when you run these installations. I don't really remember it with Python in particular, but you want to make sure that it is checked when you add that Python installation. Because in order for it to call on those resources, the path needs to be in your environment variables, and this is how you get it there without going through all the rigmarole that I just went over. But I don't remember it being there, so there you go. Now it gets a little easier. What I do is I create a new folder for StreamDiffusion somewhere on your computer. I just created one called StreamDiffusion test. I'm just going to delete everything in here. I just ran a test of all this. And delete all that stuff. Come on. Okay. So then my base folder, I'm going to tell it to go to that folder, which I just created on the top level, StreamDiffusion test for me, because I have a separate StreamDiffusion folder that's working. Select that folder, and now it's just going to target your installation to that folder. Okay, and now you can just pulse the download. So I pulse the download StreamDiffusion, turn off my phone, and it pulls down the StreamDiffusion folder. So now you see you've got a models folder here in the top level, StreamDiffusion itself, and there's a lot of different bits and pieces of software in here. Whenever you're doing stuff with AI, there's like 100 different things that it calls upon. But that's a good start for you. Then install virtual environment and other stuff that you need. It's going to say detected CUDA version 11.8, or it's going to say not 11.8. If you don't have the right version, the script recommends CUDA 11.8. I've got that, so I can say continue. The final thing that is part of the installation and is super important in my opinion is the Tensor RT, which is an accelerator basically, and it'll make your machine, if you're doing something like the Magic Mirror where you really need it to be run in real time, it's going to make it incredibly more efficient. You're going to get 24 frames or 20 frames a second instead of 10 or 12. I'm reluctant to install this right now because I'm afraid it's going to put system components. It took me a long time to get Tensor RT working. So I'm not going to do this, but once this is all done, then you pulse that and hopefully it'll just work and you'll be able to run it. If it doesn't, and it didn't for me, go back over to the Discord server and just copy the errors that you're seeing. You can see that the back end here, where StreamDiffusion actually runs, it gives you a lot of information. And this is mostly just looks like gibberish a lot of times, but it will give you clues as to what the problems are and where the problems lie. So if you get errors in here, they'll come up and you can actually copy them out of here and paste them into here. You might go to the troubleshoot area and just like paste a portion of your error message, maybe the beginning of it, right into here and see if somebody else is having that error. You can also ask.simulate directly. If you're lucky, he'll get back to you. There's a lot of people on this server and other people might help you with it as well. If you end up in a long slog getting it installed, I'm sorry, it took me time, but once I eventually got it working, I had a lot of fun with it. So best of luck. I can try to answer your questions in the comments if you have problems with the install, but I would probably just be going and looking for the answer in here, which I suggest that you try first. Okay, so good luck with the install. Follow the instructions carefully. Here they are. And meet me on the other side. We'll take a quick look at the Magic Mirror. Okay, here we are back in Touch. I'm using my camera in TouchDesigner, and it's fighting with OBS. So I'm not going to be down here in the lower right. But we're working on a Magic Mirror, so I'm right here in Touch. Right now, you are just looking at probably an empty TouchDesigner network with the StreamDiffusion talks sitting in the middle of it with none of this other stuff. This is a laughably easy network to build, and I'll walk you through it. But I'm just going to kind of start from the end and work backwards. Your install tab on your StreamDiffusion talks should look like this with 3 check marks. Hopefully that's the case for everybody. And in your models tab, you should be seeing auto, stability AI / SD Turbo in the model, and acceleration Tensor RT. I think, as I recall, this is the default setting. And this is the default model, and it's a great, very efficient model, so it's a great place to start. You can download models from Civit AI and LoRa's and control nets, and I'll probably go over that in a different tutorial, but this is just like a super basic first look at this stuff. So just leave this as is or set it this way if it's not. I think that's the way it comes in. There are no control nets and no caching because we are running Tensor RT. And that's too bad, except that this is what is giving you a nice high frame rate. I'm running a 3090 and I get about 20 some frames per second. It's even run as high as 30. I don't know why, but sometimes it runs really fast. And then the other sort of important page is the settings page, which is where you start your stream. This is where your prompt sits. I'm just going to put in Harrison Ford. And start the stream. When you start the stream, it should kick open Stable Diffusion in the background. You'll see this matching Triton error, which everybody pretty much, as far as I know, sees. Don't worry about it. You should see the model that it's loading. And then you should see it load Tensor RT, which is a good sign. And then you'll see a little bit of data about you. There's all kinds of useful data in here, as I mentioned, error messages and everything that can give you clues to what is going on with StreamDiffusion. You'll see that it's gobbling up 9 gigabytes of your VRAM, so it's pretty hungry, but there's still room to play in there, right? This is running way too hot. I'm going to turn it down. Okay. So there it is, basic version of the magic mirror. This is your step count. This is reversed from Comfy. I'm not exactly sure why the formatting of this is different, but you are going to get more denoising, meaning more adding of noise and removing of noise as you decrease this value. And if you crank this super hot, it just makes the thing like ridiculously unstable. So for this, if you're trying to make it render what looks like a real person, we should actually say, let's say 4K photograph. And that looks a little more photographic, I guess. So, I mean, essentially what I'm doing is plugging my camera into this, obviously. Just a few tricks behind the scenes. I'm running NVIDIA Broadcast in the background, and then I'm using the background removal in this app, which is a really good, solid background removal. It helps because, let's see, if I turn it off, you can see in here that it just creates instability in here that you don't need, right? Just like the background is not relevant to what we're doing here. And I also have video noise removal. That helps take away some of the static, which you'll see that it'll get twitchier around. If you see around my shirt here, how it gets a little twitchier. When you take that away, it just seems to stabilize the input a little bit. And I do it again, even over here. I put another NVIDIA denoiser. You got to flip it on the XY axis so that you get a reverse image. And then scaling things in helps. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of cool. Maybe I'm zoomed in a little too much. But you'll get more details in the face if you give it more details in the face, right? And you might avoid people putting their hands up in here. Hands are challenging. Hands are what's going to give you the AI bizarre weirdness that you don't want. Then there's a fit top, and I'm basically shaving off the sides and converting it to 512 by 512. These models are trained on 512 by 512, so that tends to work the best. You can change the resolution of it. I have never done this. Everybody says that these models tend to be happiest working with squares. I don't know why that is, but that's just something to keep in mind. But people do run them successfully at different resolutions. But for now, I would say just stick with a 512 by 512 input. It's going to give you, I think, the output that you put in right here. This is only grayed out because the StreamDiffusion is running. But if I stopped the server, I could change that. And you can put an NVIDIA upscaler on the output. It does make it look a little bit better, but it's still kind of pixelated. You know, it still kind of looks 512 by 512. There's some areas that get improvement, but I'm running this upscale by 4, and I'm still getting 60 frames a second. But it gives you a ding on performance. That's just something to keep in mind. So again, this slider is your amount of denoising, and if you run it all the way up to 49, you'll basically get your input. But this is running through the denoiser, so this is sort of a deconstructed reconstruction of my face. Right around in here for a basic magic mirror is okay. Let's try some other people. I don't know. Anybody out there want to make a request? Here's me rendered as Oprah Winfrey. I pushed it to 15. I don't know. It gets a little herky-jerky that way. I still think around in here is the best. If you try to do something like Santa Claus, which is really far away from the way that I look, you get very strange results. If you wanted to do something like this and make a Santa Claus video, I'm being totally serious, put on a Santa hat and a fake white beard. You'll get much better results, much more consistent results, right? You can get Santa Claus if you push this really hard, but then it kind of falls apart, right? So this is like not really Santa Claus-y Santa Claus. So that's sort of the vibe for the Magic Mirror. You can put much more interesting prompts in here with more detail. There was a guy from the Discord who made a big magic mirror with like a scary mushroom man, Halloween, spooky. I don't know what his prompt was, but so he put his projector up and had his laptop, I guess, just making a magic mirror. And for something abstract like this, you can drive it a lot harder, right? Kind of weird, not necessarily usable in an installation, but totally fun. I guess Halloween's over, so maybe we do Thanksgiving display. So you could do this for Thanksgiving and impress your mother. Or your mother-in-law when she comes over. I'm getting still like a skeleton hand in there. Yeah, you want to run that one really hard. But you could run anything in here. Something audio reactive is something I've wanted to fiddle with. Particle systems, graphics, drawings, animations, things with feedback. You can just say outer space and the galaxies. Galaxies, and now you're like sort of an interactive space mirror of sorts, kind of trippy. But remember that you have all of TouchDesigner available to you south and north of this for both what you feed into it and what you take coming out of it. Like maybe there's just a piece of this that you want as a centerpiece in something that you're working on. Again, you still have a little bit of room on your GPU if you have a fairly strong GPU, and there's just a lot of interesting things that you can do and other people have done that you can look at on the Discord server. Right now, I haven't even mixed it. I forgot. I had multiplied myself with the noise, which will just give me more detail. So let's go back to scary Halloween mushroom, and like, you know, now you'll just get a lot more color variation. And if you send it a more detailed input, I mean, noise is just noise, but like you can send it all kinds of things. This is sort of a cheap way to do it, and be sure to play with the period because you'll get kind of different types of results, larger trends with a higher period and more detail with a lower period, right? Like if you run it really tight like this, and you know, you could even, if you composite these together more aggressively, then you can have more interesting results. But there is no end to the ways that you can fiddle with this system. And that's all I'm running right here. I might do another one of these where I tackle sort of a bigger, more interesting what is going on outside of StreamDiffusion, but this was really a way to just sort of get you up and running with it and get you fiddling with it. And if any of you have suggestions about something, put something in the comments that you'd like to see worked on. I've been fiddling with this a lot and trying different things. So I hope to show you one of those next time. Until then, have fun playing with StreamDiffusion.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you like our YouTube content, I highly recommend you check out the Interactive and Immersive HQ Pro. The HQ Pro is the only comprehensive educational resource and community for immersive design, TouchDesigner, and creative tech pros. In the HQ Pro trainings, we cover almost any topic you can think of, and we go way more in depth than we do in our YouTube tutorials. We have a private group where Matthew Reagan, myself, and our other industry veteran and pioneer teachers answer your questions every single day. If that sounds cool, click the link in the description to learn more. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more free TouchDesigner and immersive content.